Welcome back to B&B Movie Reviews. This week, we take one last dance, hopefully, with the symbiote, and be careful whose door you knock on because Hugh Grant might be on the other side of it.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson tries to save Christmas, and Ridley Scott returns to the Coliseum in Gladiator II. Stay right there. B&B is up next.
Four legs are better than one.
How fast do you think you can get that thing to go without killing it?
Only one way to find out. Nice Uzi.
Hey,
Nice Uzi. Surprise, Uzi! I love Uzi!
Venom and Eddie Brock are on the run, and they hitch a ride on a horse, the only way a symbiote knows how to do, in the third and hopefully, please, final installment of Venom: The Last Dance. I guess that tells you everything about how I feel about the
Review
movie.
over. On to the next film.
Yeah. Okay, Brad.
Okay.
The third and final, hopefully, they say this is the final one. Tom Hardy says, we've completed this trilogy. He's moving on. He's hopefully going to do all of us a favor.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little crazy when I was watching this in the theater because our audience was eating it up. We had applause breaks.
Yeah.
We had tremendous amounts of laughter
We had
throughout.
oohs and ahs.
Lots of oohs and ahs, and we were looking at each other. We were doing a lot of side eye. I feel like I'm on a different planet myself when I was in that theater. Are we the villains? What's attractive about Venom: The Last Dance is its DGAF attitude. Okay,
That's true.
This movie is just running and gunning. I mean,
Yeah.
it is nonstop. Like, it barely slows down.
Yeah.
And I think that there is some kind of energy that comes with the absurdity and just like the pedal to the metal attitude of The Last Dance. Like, they are making a buddy cop comedy
Yeah.
that I didn't find funny,
No,
but
no.
I'm not the audience, it turns out.
The thing that really bothers me about these movies is that absurdity of it with the character of Venom and that relationship that he has with
It
Eddie
could be
Brock.
fun. It could be fun.
It could be fun.
And I think if you look back at that first movie, when Tom Hardy is inside the lobster tank, cracking open these crustaceans and eating them, like, that took me aback. But, there was something to hold on there because the absurdity was so intense and so shocking.
Yeah.
I kind of rolled with it with the first movie. I didn't love the first movie,
No.
but I saw what they were going for.
Yeah.
And they've tried to balance that in the sequels. They've tried to ramp it up. I was going to say balance because the balance isn't there at all.
Okay, so tell me if I'm wrong for this and what my expectations out of these movies, even knowing this from the first movie, they throw logic out the window.
Well, yeah.
And I like to have some type of logic in my movie, even a movie that
Depends
is
on
absurd.
the movie. Like, to me, it's got to follow its own rules, right? And I think it does establish some kind of rules in this movie, and it does go along the very thin book of rules that they have written.
Yeah.
But to me, the characters are just not appealing.
Yeah.
The way that some people find them appealing.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy clearly is having a lot of fun while making these movies, and his Venom voice is just bonkers.
Yeah, it is.
And I feel like if they had a better script, this would be a good time. What's weird about Venom: The Last Dance is so much of this movie is spent away from Tom Hardy and the symbiote.
Well, and I think that's the big thing about this movie is because we come there to see, regardless of how you feel about these movies, you come there to see Venom and Tom Hardy and that relationship that they've built over the three films. But now we spend this movie with Chiwetel Ejiofor, with Juno Temple, who are extremely uninteresting. And
So dull.
Yeah, and they try to give them so much to do in this movie.
Well, they give them
with
backstory.
Juno. Yeah, with Juno Temple, they try to give her a backstory with her brother to give some type of motivation.
Tragedy and trauma.
Yeah, but none of that stuff works. We don't really care about her character. And we spend most of the time with these characters, but we know nothing about them.
Yeah, like the screenplay is populated with either extremely earnest, dull people or wackadoos. And we have the wackadoos of the symbiote and Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy, and then we have that family that
Reese Ifans.
Yeah, the lizard's in this film.
Yeah, he's not playing the lizard.
Not playing the lizard, playing like a hippy-dippy dad who just wants to show his kids America and really wants to show them a UFO, and they encounter the symbiote.
Yeah.
But no one is operating on any kind of recognizable reality. And for me, you either go full non-reality or you get a little bit more earnest. Like, is this an Avengers type film or is this Airplane? And I feel like it's far too much Airplane than Avengers.
Than to try to come back and have an Avengers moment.
Yeah, and to try to have any kind of like emotional catharsis.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like,
you're right. In that respect, it feels non-committal in the direction that it wants to go. Do you want to go straight Looney Tunes?
Yeah.
Or do you want to have some heart? And they try to have a little bit of both worlds, and it just doesn't work when you get to that ending.
But like, the opening of this film is this whole diatribe about Null and how Null is coming and they need the codex. I can't believe anyone's using the word codex after Man of Steel. And we're supposed to be really worried about these symbiote dragons coming from Null's planet, and that eventually Null will arrive as well. And we get a post-credit scene with Null.
We did? We got one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Remember he raises his head?
Oh,
and
that's right. We got to see his eyes for a moment.
For a moment.
Gotcha. Okay.
And like, you're teasing more after you've just completed your Eddie Brock story?
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah. What's your rating for this?
Well, we're the B&B show.
Yes, we are.
If we like something, we give it a B+. If we don't like something, we give it a B-.
Yeah.
For me, it's a B-. But again, that crowd was definitely a B+.
Let me think. What would I give this movie? I think I would give it B-. Yeah, this movie's trash. I hope this is the end. I hope we don't get any more. If we do, let somebody else take the reins. Let's get a new interpretation of this character, because I think this character can really be a lot of fun and can do something cool with it.
Hey, we've got Craven coming.
Okay. Let's good luck with that one. So when we return, we are going to talk about Hugh Grant. He's back, terrifying some people knocking at his door. Stay right there.
Kids across America are going to school hungry every day. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
As I understand it, stop me when I go wrong, he was visited in the night by an angel called Moroni, who showed him where he could locate some golden plates near his home. His mysterious translation of those plates form the basis of this.
Wow! No, you read more than we do. No, seriously, we should be more like you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed.
Two Mormon missionaries look to convert Mr. Reed, but he has a lot more in store for them in the tense psychological thriller Heretic. Bryan.
Oh, yeah.
This movie is great.
Dude, this movie is great. It's insane.
I think Hugh Grant gives one of the best performances he's ever given.
Yeah.
He is, I guess, the villain of this story, but I got to tell you, as I was listening to him in the first 30 minutes of this film, as he's talking about his point of view, I didn't disagree with him a lot.
No. And that's the thing I love about this movie is the fact that it really challenges, like, I don't want to say it challenges your beliefs, but it's very interested in having these very theological debates and
Well,
conversations.
it is a conversation with the audience, right?
It is.
Like you
It
can't
is.
help but engage. You can't help but put yourself
In that-
living room.
yep,
smelling
exactly.
that beautiful blueberry
pie.
You know, and you know these two young girls played by Chloe East and Sophie Thatcher,
Yep.
who are established really early on before they even get to Mr. Reed's house as two really smart cookies, right? And you know, however you feel about you know the Church of Latter-day Saints, whatever, but they have a mission. Right, you know they are bringing their religion to the people, to these doors, and gosh, you know I've had those folks knock on my door and I say, hey, you know, thanks, no thanks, really appreciate what you're doing, you know, off you go.
I'll take your pamphlet.
I'll take your
read it, but
pamphlet.
thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll be polite.
I'm good.
I'm polite
okay.
about it.
I'm okay.
I'm
yeah.
polite about it, right?
Yeah.
And the sinister nature of a person who goes, come on in.
Come on in. Yeah.
on
Let
in.
me hear what you have to say. Yeah.
And then just attacking them with such cold logic. And that's so attractive and appealing
Yeah.
for this person watching.
But that's the thing, and I think Hugh Grant is perfect casting for the person that is delving out those those barbs
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all of those those questions that
Yeah.
he's asking. And what I liked about it is like the first half of this movie is so dense when it comes to the dialogue and the conversations that they're having that there was something very appealing because it's almost like a verbal chess match that's being had between all three of them.
But it's such a one-sided chess match until it's not.
Until it's not, because Sophie Thatcher's character at one point does start to rebut him
Yeah.
and challenge a lot of his logic that he has about religion and everything that he's saying.
This movie reminded me a lot of another film that we reviewed on the show a few weeks ago, Speak No Evil, the remake.
Oh, okay.
And this idea that you get into situations, you meet people, and because you've been raised to be a polite person by your lovely parents, you accept some things. You hear some stuff and you go like, well, I don't agree with that, but I'm going to be polite about it, and I'll nod my head. And I'll look for my exit. You know, but I might not go for my exit when I really should go for my exit.
Should go.
And these girls, they actually do figure out that something sinister is happening pretty early on in this conversation. And then it becomes, well, how do I get out of this room? Right?
Yeah.
And then it becomes, oh, he's not letting me out of this room. Now what do I do to save my life?
And I thought that was interesting until we get to a certain point when we get into the second half of the film.
The two doors, which you see in the trailer.
The two doors, and they have to make a choice, you know, belief or disbelief. And I think once they make that decision and start to go down that route and go down that journey, the movie is less interesting to me. I'm still very high on this film, but it's a little less interesting than what we are introduced to in the first half of this movie.
When Mr. Reed is talking about Monopoly and its origins,
I loved all that. I love how he's bringing pop culture
that's
into
the peak of the movie, right?
Yeah.
And once the girls choose their door and go through it, it becomes less interesting. But I don't dislike the movie from that point forward.
No, not at all.
I still think it has a satisfying conclusion.
Yes.
Mr. Reed reveals his true insanity, and I have to detach myself from his point of view.
Yeah.
While Hugh Grant has the more flashier role and in some ways the more attractive role, you got to give it to Chloe East and Sophie Thatcher.
Yeah, there's a lot that has to be done from two characters that are basically playing defense against somebody like Hugh Grant, who is just like basically attacking their beliefs and their, and everything that they've grown up to know. And for them as actors to be able to react to what he's doing in these scenes, it's great to watch. And I think they work great. All three of them work great together.
But if you ever find yourself in this situation with a Mr. Reed and the door locks behind you,
oh no,
the time for politeness is over.
It's over. It's over.
You kick that thing down.
It's fight
you
or
go
flight.
out the window.
It's fight or flight, baby. It's fight or flight.
Don't die by politeness.
What's your rating for this?
Loved this movie. One of the
Yeah.
most fun experiences I've had in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Total B+.
B+ for me. I really enjoyed it. Again, the verbal chess match, the back and forth that they're having. I love all the theological conversations that they were having. Great. I love this movie. So yeah, those are our thoughts on Heretic. When we return, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is back on the big screen with a Christmas classic.
Oh, no.
No? Yes? We'll find out. Stay right there.
I only had a 29% chance to find a blood stem cell donor, but then we matched. Dear donor, we beat leukemia. Thank you forever and ever.
Save a life at nmdp.org.
I need eyes on Red now.
Mailroom negative. Study negative.
Mistletoe hydroponics negative.
He's not in the gallery.
Nick! Breach!
We have a breach!
Now, here, make it happen. Hey, I need you to get up on the screen.
There's been a breach in the North Pole when Santa Claus has been kidnapped, and there's only one man big enough for the job, Santa's head of security, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, in the Christmas action comedy Red 1.
I question every word you just said.
What I just read was probably the most exciting thing about the movie.
Action comedy, if you say so. I think the action's pretty miserable. I think the comedy's even more so.
Yeah.
What's going on with The Rock, Bryan?
Oh man, we had a long conversation about this. I mean, this might be an aside from the actual film that we're talking about, but yeah, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, we talked about this before after Black Adam. You know, he spits a good game. He really does. But then you go and watch these movies and they're forgettable.
Yeah.
And I'm being nice when I say forgettable.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, he's starting to lose his credibility when it comes to these projects that he's doing.
He's lost it. He's lost it for me. It's going to take a really great trailer for me to get excited about a Rock movie in the future.
Yeah.
The big problem I had with Red 1 is the chemistry factor. Chris Evans, Captain America, The Rock, Black Adam, two superhero titans together again for the first time, and they do not work together.
They don't.
They don't look like they're having a good time.
They feel like they're not even in the same movie.
It's rough, and if that chemistry doesn't work, this movie doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
And this film is so long to be stuck in a chemistry-less script.
I mean, this
performance.
Yeah, I mean, the movie just feels like it's kind of like in a rut, and it's just kind of circling, and it feels like every other. We've seen this movie time and time again.
You know what this movie is?
We just put a new coat with a Christmas theme over top of it.
It's the segment from Scrooge, the Bill Murray Christmas classic with Lee Majors and the terrorists invading the North Pole. It's like they watched that segment from Scrooge and were like, let's make a 2.5-hour movie about that. And then throw in Krampus and some other Christmas shenanigans.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right, though. This movie felt like it's super long. I don't know how long the movie actually was, but it got to a point in this film where I felt like I was enduring this movie instead of actually trying to enjoy
we
watching
physically
it.
were enduring this movie.
That's true. That's true.
We saw it as part of the 4DX experience at the Regal Gallery, and it was like a roller coaster. And I haven't done that experience often. This is, I think, the second time I've ever done it.
Yeah, same for me.
I cracked my head on Santa's sleigh. I'm getting sprayed North Pole juice in my face. It was not pleasant.
No, they got wind blowing. They got, they're spritzing like water on you. Like, and then, I mean, there was a sequence towards the end of the film during some type of chase with a sleigh. It doesn't even matter. But our chairs are literally going like this, and then like our heads are whipping back and forth.
I saw nothing on the screen.
We're not even looking at the screen, and our heads are like whipping back and forth, and then you're like, I don't know, like, what just happened?
It was so distracting. but maybe this movie needed a little distraction because I can't imagine just sitting quietly and still in a theater
and watching
experiencing this thing.
Yeah, because even with all of those amenities that they give with the 4DX, this movie still felt boring.
I
couldn't
gotta
even imagine
give
watching this in a
an
regular
Academy
theater.
Award to Nick Kroll in this movie. He has a sequence in which he is possessed by a witch.
Yeah.
That he is giving 1,000%. I have never seen an actor commit so hard to something.
I don't know what he's doing.
I had to watch that performance through all my fingers.
It was, I mean, this movie.
Cringe, my friend.
It was cringe. This movie overall is embarrassing. It really is for everybody involved.
I hope everyone got paid quite well.
I do. I mean, I kind of give it up to Lucy Liu because she has very little to do in this movie. So maybe she can kind of skirt by without even people knowing that she's in it.
J.K. Simmons is a good Santa.
like
He's a
J.K.
quality Santa.
I like
He's a
J.K.
buff
Simmons.
Santa.
He
He's
is,
jacked.
yeah.
Not rock jacked, but getting there.
Yeah.
And I think he survives the film quite easily.
Yeah, but Chris Evans and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I'm just like, I mean, we had an extensive conversation about Chris Evans and what he's doing with his career. And again, I don't know what choices he's making behind the scenes and why he's doing this.
Was that famous Michael Caine quote when he talked about Jaws: The Revenge? You know, he doesn't remember making that movie, but he sure remembers the house it bought him.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with Red One.
Yeah. He's got some bills to pay.
This is the thing. Like, I love a good Christmas movie.
Me too.
Right?
Yeah. I watch Die Hard every year.
Die Hard, Gremlins, Die Hard 2, even better than Die Hard 1. We all know that. No debate. And this film is extremely silly, and I do wonder if I was 5 years old and I walked into this theater and I had not seen Scrooged or The Nightmare Before Christmas.
You're setting the bar low.
Yeah. Like, if this is my first Christmas adventure film, it is so silly and wacky. There's snowmen, abominable snowmen in this film, and there's Krampus. It's such a strange film. I think I could imagine my 5-year-old self having a good time with this. But that 5-year-old is really dumb.
Yeah, and then you turn 6 and you learn better.
Yeah. I watch Predator and I go, oh, this is a great film.
What's your rating for this?
Massive B-.
Yeah, this movie's terrible. This is a B-. The Rock, what are you doing? Fire your team. Start fresh. Just do it all over again. Anyway, all right, guys, when we return, Gladiator II, Ridley Scott returns to the Coliseum after 24 years. We'll have our thoughts when we come back. Stay right there.
In America, millions of families are facing hunger.
After rent and power, I can get groceries. It's sad to say food comes last. Anna from Texas.
The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
The greatest temple Rome ever built, the Colosseum, because this is what they believe in, power. They gather here to watch the strong strike down the weak.
There has to be something else.
There is nothing else.
There has to be another Rome.
There is no other Rome. The dream? The dream of Rome? It's an old man's fantasy.
Who are you? What was your name before you traded it for a Roman one?
You'll never know. I have a destiny. The gods delivered you to me. You will be my instrument.
I will never be your instrument in this life or the next.
Macrinus must use Lucius to get what he wants out of Rome, but will Lucius bend to his will in Ridley Scott's return to the Colosseum? Gladiator II.
Gladiator II, man.
A lot of anticipation for this movie.
Yeah.
We were quite hyped as we were walking into the theater.
Oh, yeah.
Did it live up to that hype, Bryan?
You know what? It actually did, because this is a movie that I've been waiting for. Well, I don't want to say I've been waiting for, because I had no idea that Ridley Scott was even entertaining the idea of, are you not entertained? Of doing a Gladiator II.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, once I learned that he was doing this movie and
yeah, but like Ridley Scott, we've reviewed quite a few films on this show.
That's
Napoleon,
very true.
House of Gucci.
Yeah, well, House of Gucci.
Oh, okay,
yeah, but Napoleon, you're right. Napoleon, not good.
Alien Covenant. Your favorite Alien film?
Ridley Scott is hit or miss. He's been a lot of hit or miss. A lot
of misses. Right?
Late in his
career. So,
career.
like, my enthusiasm for Gladiator II, coming off of Napoleon, which I found to be such a slog, was not quite there. I liked the trailers fine, but I wasn't that stoked to be there in that theater. The movie won me over, though. I think, Gladiator II is a great time at the cinema, because it feels like cinema. Like, this is what I go to the movies for, to look at a landscape like this one, to feel these emotions, these intense, overextended emotions, and find some kind of thrill again for the motion picture.
That's the thing that I've been missing, and I don't think we've gotten something like that since when we talk about epic films, epic movies. We got that early in the year with Dune 2, and then I think now we're doing something.
Dune 2 is a great pick here, because this is how I felt when I was watching Dune and Dune 2. I was like, all right, cinema is back.
Exactly.
This is truly back.
Exactly. And I miss those moments. I miss that.
The performances are top notch. Pedro Pascal, always like that guy. His character is pretty complicated too.
It's complicated because if anybody who's watched the trailer, you would think that, okay, this is the person, this is the antagonist of the film going up against Paul Mescal's character, Lucius, right? And there's a lot more complexity to Pedro Pascal's character than what we initially see in the trailers and what you might think going into this movie.
The screenplay gives everyone involved in this film a lot of understanding.
It does.
I walked away from this going like, well, who was the bad guy?
Yeah, and no, you're right, because there is no clear-cut villain or antagonist of this piece, and we talked about this when we were leaving the theater.
I had not watched the first Gladiator in a long time, and I still haven't watched it. I went into Gladiator II pretty fresh. Having very few memories of the first film. I was like, did Maximus have a son? I thought the son had died. Like
I was there too.
All the plot stuff, the background stuff of what sets up Gladiator 2 is pretty murky to me, but I don't think that really mattered. The film gives you enough to live on its own. I was also thinking about, when the first film came out in the year 2000. Computer-generated effects were kind of like a new thing, and I remember being like a little weirded out by the Colosseum in the first movie because I was such a practical effects head. And this film has like wall-to-wall CGI. The first gladiatorial combat has this insane bout with all these raging monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
And I ate it all up. To get like these raging monkeys and to get like this rhinoceros.
I mean, the Colosseum, the sea battle with the sharks. So all of that stuff.
Lots of animals in Gladiator 2.
There really is, but you're right, though, man. The performances with all of these characters I thought was really top notch. And a lot of people are going to be pointing to Denzel Washington. And I don't want to give too much about his character, but I mean, he's chewing up the scenery, and he's having a lot of fun.
Yes, that's clear.
And his true intentions aren't really revealed until late in the film, but when you do discover that, it makes a lot of sense, and the way it ties back into the first film, I think really gives his motivations a lot more weight.
The anticipation around Gladiator 2 and the conversation that came with that anticipation was a lot about Denzel Washington and how he's going to deliver this Academy Award level performance. And when we were watching it, for the first half, maybe even 2/3, I was certainly enjoying Denzel Washington, and he was stealing every scene. If he was in the frame, you were looking at him and no one else. But it's in that last third that you go, oh, here's the Academy Award-winning performance.
Yeah. No, he's great in it. And I mean, I could definitely see him getting nominated for this performance compared to some of the other stuff we've seen this year. I think he, I don't want to say he's a lock, but he's great in the movie. Though.
I'd be quite happy with it.
Yeah. What's your rating for this?
Another B+.
Yeah. This is a B+. I mean, I think this is a worthy successor to the first movie. I don't think it's as good as because I love the first movie.
I need to rewatch the first
I've seen it probably a little more than you have, but I want to go back and rewatch it. But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie a lot. So.
Cinema is back. Ridley Scott is back.
He's back for now. All right, guys. So those are our thoughts on Gladiator II. Let me recap what we have discussed on this episode. The first movie that we talked about was Venom 3. I had to remember that. Venom 3, we gave that a B-. Then we talked about Heretic, which we gave a B+. Then Red 1, which is a movie that really is forgettable. That's a B- for both of us. And then Gladiator 2, that is a B+. Definitely check that out when it comes out. All right, so thank you for joining us on this latest episode of B&B Movie Reviews. Come be a part of the conversation. If you have questions, suggestions, feel free to email us at bnbmoviereviews@gmail.com. And with that, we will see you at the movies.